Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, this week for me is going to be a very special week. Obviously, we are celebrating, about a week away now, in less than a week, our 250th anniversary as an independent nation, July 4th, 1776, the birth of the United States and the birth of our great republic. And as we slowly approach that wonderful day, and I will be celebrating the 4th, my entire family will. It is going to be a really patriotic, jam-packed day. I'm so looking forward to it, once in a lifetime. What we're now starting to see is that the enemies of freedom, the enemies of the 4th, the enemies of our Constitution, the enemies of our nation are now coming out of the shadows. And they are getting stronger and stronger and stronger by the second. And what we now see, and this is what President Trump said in one of his most recent speeches, I'm going to play extensively from that speech because it is a clear five-alarm warning that if we do not wake up to this, his words, internal communist menace that has now completely captured the Democratic Party, captured large segments of Hollywood, the media, the civil bureaucracy, the deep state, we may not have another 250th anniversary, another 250 years left in our country. And so he now says that the battle is on. It is the battle for the heart and soul of our country, and we must win, and we must fight, and if we do fight, we will win. But fight we must. So let me just start off with a local story, and then I want to get into the president's speech, because the local story really makes the president's point. Now, as you know, President Trump is talking about what I talked about last week, which was the stunning victory in the primaries of Mamdani's communists. They go by the Democratic Socialists of America, but if you look at their funding, if you look at their deep ties to the Chinese Communist Party, and I'm going to get to that, if you look at their platform, their program, and what they want to accomplish, they're communists. It's Karl Marx. It's Das Kapital. It's the Communist Manifesto. Many are open about it. The media is trying to cover for them, but they're open about it. And so they're now, by the way, it's not just in New York. They are sweeping elections now in Minnesota, in Maryland, in California, in Connecticut. It's happening all over the country. The DSA is now morphing into the Democratic Party, or to be more accurate, the Democratic Party now is morphing into the DSA. They are becoming the Democratic Socialists of America right in front of our eyes. What they ultimately want to do, if I can put it down in one sentence, is they want to ban the American flag. They want to overturn July 4th, 1776. They want to overturn our independence. They want to overturn our Constitution, our republic, and they want to erase everything that we have achieved, our basic fundamental freedoms of the last 250 years. That's ultimately what they want. They want a communist or an Islamo-communist state upon the rubble of the American Republic. And this is why they are now pushing the most radical policies and positions. It is to destroy America from within. And many of them have deep ties and, in fact, are taking money from the Chinese Communist Party. And I'm going to get to this later because now it is beyond a shadow of a doubt. So they are a fifth column on behalf of the world's largest, strongest, most powerful communist empire. And so in the end, they want to destroy American freedom, American civilization, our American republic, and they want to erase that this United States ever gained its independence on July 4th, 1776, in the name of freedom and individual liberty. That's what they want to wipe off the face of the earth. That's their fundamental objective. Or as they put it even more clearly than I am, we want to overthrow America and Western civilization. That's literally what they say. Now, here in Massachusetts, which is the cradle of the American Revolution, the birthplace of American liberty, many ordinary patriots are looking to celebrate the 4th of July. It is our 250th birthday. And so in the small island community of Plum Island, residents now, for the last several weeks, have been getting ready for the big 4th this Saturday. And not just barbecues and cookouts and fireworks, and all of that is wonderful and beautiful. But they began to distribute American flags so people from their homes can fly the flag. Even 1776 revolutionary flag signs they gave out to about 100 residents. So to really get everybody in the spirit of the 4th and of our Independence Day. And as one of the organizers said, this is not left, this is not right, this is not Republican, this is not Democrat. This is to bring the entire community together because we are all Americans. And we should be so proud of our country, everything we've achieved as a nation and a people, and let us celebrate one hell of a birthday bash. Not to the liberals in the town of Newbury. Not to the Massachusetts Moonbats. Because this is now Mamdani's party. This is now Bernie's party. This is now Maura Healey's party. They sent a letter to the residents, the homeowners of Plum Island. And in the name of protecting, allegedly, the Endangered Species Act, it's everywhere. The story has now gone everywhere. Homeowners in Plum Island have been told you cannot fly the American flag on July 4th, or even in the days leading up to July 4th. But especially on July 4th, because there's going to be extra flags, more flags than normal. And that if someone flies the American flag, Old Glory, if one flies a revolutionary flag, if one flies any patriotic flag, they will then be punished with a massive financial fine and with civil penalties. They've told them, don't do it. You fly this flag, you're going to face penalty after penalty after penalty. And the residents of Plum Island are absolutely stunned. And the reason given in the letter, I want you to listen to this now, is because according to these crazy moonbats in Newbury, according to Mamdani's people now, the flags flying from people's homes can impede or obstruct protected shorebirds. Birds. Shorebirds. Birds that like to go to the beach. It could protect them, their nesting, their feeding, basically their natural ecosystem, the way they like to fly and get on with their day. And so because this violates what they say is the Federal Endangered Species Act and potential and holds potential harm, I swear to you, to the shorebirds, they're now saying the flags must come down. Now, let me make a few points, and then I want to go to you, the great audience. 617-266-6868 is the number. This is what Trump meant in his speech that I'm going to be playing extensively throughout the show. That communism is coming. That the Democrats now are a communist party. That there's no getting around it. Okay, so just very, very quick. So what you're now seeing is an effort to ban the flag. I knew it was coming. By the way, to his credit, Trump warned. Trump said, watch, they're going to now push to eventually ban the flag. Flying the flag, having the flag on your own property. I want to stress that. On your own private property, in your own home. Okay? So what the Moonbats in Newberry have now done is they sent a letter to residents, homeowners on Plum Island. As I said, they were getting ready for a big 4th of July celebration. They even distributed more flags than normal to their neighbors, to people on the streets, pre-revolutionary flag signs as well. They're gonna have a big fireworks show, really get everybody in the patriotic spirit. And now they're being told to take all of the flags down. They cannot fly them on the 4th. So you're telling me, as a private property owner who pays taxes through the nose, that I can't fly the American flag or anything patriotic on our 250th birthday? Because somehow you think that impedes the travel and the nesting and the wildlife patterns of these protected shorebirds? So the birds are more important than the flag. I mean, this is how insane it's becoming, but it's done on purpose. They're just using the shorebirds, okay, the so-called protected shorebirds, the, quote, endangered species, unquote. That's just the excuse. The goal is to ban the flag. By the way, residents on Plum Island are absolutely, when I say outraged, they're losing their minds. And I don't blame them. And they're all pointing out there's 10 miles, 10 open beach for all these shorebirds if they want to congregate, fly, nest, mate, whatever they want to do. There's not a single house. 10 miles of beach. 10 miles. So they're saying, I don't know what their problem is. So you're trying to tell me that flying a flag threatens an endangered species? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. This is not just one of the most ridiculous mandates, one of the most ridiculous diktats I've ever seen in my life. But it is clearly unpatriotic, anti-patriotic, anti-American, and the goal to ruin 4th of July celebrations. And that's the bigger story. Democrats do not want to celebrate the 4th. In poll after poll, they say not only are we not celebrating, we hate our 250th anniversary because we hate the United States of America. Everything it is, everything it's been, everything it's achieved, everything it stands for. It, in fact, so bad that a majority of Democrats in poll after poll say, if we could leave the country, we're so disgusted by America, We would just leave. Like literally leave, pack up and go to another country. They're trying now to ruin the 4th of July for everybody. And I think a big part of it is because Trump is really celebrating our 250th birthday. He's going all out. Show after show, fireworks after fireworks, the major state fair. I could go on. The reflecting pool, everything that he's done in order to have one hell of a 4th of July. And so because Trump is for it and Trump is a patriot, now the liberals have to destroy it and ruin it for everybody. And so my question to you, and I'm going to get to Trump's speech, I promise. My question to you, what should the residents of Plum Island do? Should they obey this new mandate from the communists on the town in Newberry? Or should they do what Jeff Kuhner advocated last night on X? Screw. Screw. I said, you tell them, screw. It's our country. It's our home. It's our private property. It's our flag. We're flying that flag. And you want to prevent us? Then we're going to lawfare you millions of dollars. If need be, we'll take it right to the Supreme Court. But you don't have the right to prevent us from flying our flags, especially on the 4th, especially on our 250th birthday. This is beyond obscene. Obscene. Our founding fathers are rolling in their graves. What should the residents of Plum Island do? Should they engage in civil disobedience, or should they obey the mandate and the order? And furthermore, are you like Donald Trump? Do you now fear the growing menace of communism within the Democratic Party and within the country itself? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Mike, how much time left? All right, I'm not going to rush it. Anthony in New Hampshire, hang on. I'm coming for you. I just don't want you to come on. Then I got to put you on break right away. So, President Trump, in maybe the most important speech of both terms, both his first term and his second term, at the Faith and Family Coalition, said that we are now watching a new Democratic Party. Lines are loaded. To fly the flag or not to fly the flag? That is now the question. Anthony in New Hampshire, you're going to kick us off, Anthony. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Jeff, 25 years ago, I built a vehicle and painted it the American flag. It's been very popular in the North Shore, and actually President Trump acknowledged it on a bunch of his parades that we did. And Caroline Levitt got a video of it doing a parade through Rye, New Hampshire. So we decided to take a ride to Plum Island yesterday, and I'm flying 250th birthday flags on this vehicle. As we go through Newburyport to get to Plum Island, you wouldn't believe the dirty looks and the people yelling at us. We used to do parades through Newburyport. People would rush out of restaurants to bang the hoods of our vehicles. It's unbelievable in that area. So we went to Plum Island, and we're driving through Plum Island, and there are a few people with flags up and pretty well-decorated houses. But the dirty looks that we got just for having a vehicle painted like the flag with the American happy birthday flags on it, I'm telling you, as everybody goes communist now, that's the first part in this country that's already on its way. The people disgust me over there. We did have a few shout-outs saying, great, vehicle, this and that, but people were looking around before they would comment because they're outnumbered in that area of Massachusetts.
I got to ask you, Anthony, I mean, to me, this is such a shocking, disgusting story. I mean, here we are, less than a week away now from just an incredible anniversary, 250 years, the greatest country in the history of the world, and they're practically spitting on the flag, and they're trying to ban its display and ban people flying it in their own homes, on their own private property. Did anybody give you a reason why they hit your patriotic vehicle and your flags? Did anybody tell you? Like, what is it about the flag that so bothers them? What is it about your vehicle that so bothers them? I'm just curious, besides the dirty looks and the boos and the middle fingers, I mean, did anybody give you an actual coherent reason why they hate your patriotism?
No, the only time we would get comments is when we would have the Trump flags on and people would say, yeah, he's a pedo, this and that. But these people are absolute hypocrites. They hate America, but yet they're here. You know what I mean? It's like, if you hate it so much, get out. But they won't leave because they're hypocrites. I'm telling you, Jeff, it's already gone in Massachusetts. That's why I moved to New Hampshire 2 years ago. I took my kids up here, left the liberal wife back in Mass, and the kids are up here with me. Because it is gone. And nobody's going to wake up, Jeff, because it's the same thing every time. When 9/11 happened, everybody was a patriot for a week. Now the birthday, everybody will be a patriot for a week, and it'll all be forgotten. Because I blame the people.
Anthony, thank you so much for that call, and thank you for your patriotism. God bless you, my friend. By the way, just to add insult to injury, if you fly this shows you what a bunch of liars and hypocrites they are. If you fly a trans flag, if you fly an BLM flag, if you fly an LGBTQ plus flag, no problem. For some reason, that doesn't impede the shorebirds. It's just incredible. I guess, what is it, the rainbow colors on the LGBT? They like that, and somehow they avoid that flag. They just, oh, this is so comforting, I'm going to continue nesting. Or the transgender, I guess what, the color purple or whatever? Ooh, I like that color. Ooh, oh, okay. Oh, that's going to help me now find my mommy now as I fly in the air. You can't make this up. So any other flag is acceptable except the American flag or something to do with the Revolutionary War. Then suddenly you're a threat to endangered species. Ay, 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 ay. 617, I never thought I would live to see the day. 617-266-6868 is the number. Dave, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent out in the Pittsburgh area. Dave, you served as a Marine. You served in the military. You put your life on the line for this country. Did you ever think you would see the day that now crazy moonbats are ordering residents on an island, you can't fly our flag? Dave, what's going through your mind right now?
Well, Jeff, good morning, first of all, and happy 4th of July to you and your family and all across the beautiful fruited plain from Steel City, USA. Jeff, now, buddy, okay, Jeff? Number one, if somebody tells me to take down my flag, I'm going to take out what's called a garrison flag, which is what they have at Camp Lejeune, the big, I'll say it in Boston talk, wicked big flag, Jeff. Okay? No one's going to tell me not to fly my flag, okay? And I'm going to tell you, Jeff, it doesn't matter whether I'm a Marine or not. I love my country. 'Tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, Jeff. All right? Jeff, one more point, and I don't mean to not let you speak at your show, buddy. Jeff, years ago on WRKO, there was a guy named Mo Lazier on the weekend, so I was living in Salem at the time, and I called into him. Bill Clinton was president, and I said, I got a bad feeling, Mo. And I said that, and he's a constitutional conservative like me and you, great guy. I said, Mo, unfortunately, I got a bad feeling that someday down the road, don't know when, that the Democrats are going to become socialists/communists. You know, they don't have the guts to be Leninists because that's the militaristic form of communism. But, Jeff, sure to be true, like a biblical prophet, not saying that I am. Bang, Jeff, it happened.
Oh, there's no question now. I mean, it's here. It's here, and I've never seen a speech like the one that Trump delivered, and I promise I'm going to play it because I want everybody, the whole country needs to hear it. The audience needs to hear it. But he's basically saying, look, guys, we're not fighting even socialism anymore. We're not fighting the far left. We're not fighting, I don't know, ultra liberals or whatever term you want to use, progressives or no. This is now full blown communism, and they're here. They're here. And as he warned, he says it's like a cancer. If you don't fight it, it's going to spread and spread and spread. And he said they're after our Constitution, they're after our way of life, they're after our fundamental freedoms, and ultimately he says, you watch. They want the flag because the flag symbolizes exactly what America is. And boom, right on, almost like on cue. And here you are. You've got now, they're going for the flag in Plum Island. And look, many residents on Plum, I'm not saying this, they're saying this. They're saying today it's us, tomorrow it's you. They're openly saying it. They want to see if they can ban flying the flag on an island. And if they can do that in a small island community, then it's going to go to a town, and then another town. And then before you know it, it's going to be the entire state. That's what they want. And so they want to see how far they can push us. And that's why I'm urging everybody on Plum Island, what are they going to do? Fine all of you? The country will be with you. People will be setting up these GoFundMe pages. Don't you worry about the money. And lawyers will take your case up for free. And you sue the town of Newberry. You sue them right to the freaking Supreme Court. You can't fly the American flag? Are you on drugs? I mean, the First Amendment, right there, you got them. Okay, just there alone. But I mean, and especially on Independence Day? And to top it off, on our 250th birthday? Listen, I'm sorry. Sometimes there's only one answer. Blank off. F off. I mean, if I'm the town of Newberry, I would be ashamed of myself for sending that letter out. But apparently they do have a lot of support. Anthony is right. A lot of moonbats. They don't like the sight of that flag. They don't like the sight of Old Glory. They certainly don't like the flags from the Revolutionary era. That I can guarantee you. And look, they don't want to celebrate the 4th, Dave. To them, there's nothing to celebrate because they think we're an evil, wicked country. What is there to celebrate? They all want to leave. Dave, final word to you. If, in all seriousness, if you were living on Plum Island, what would you do?
Jeff, a couple of things first. I'll answer your question. Jeff, I'll answer your question first. Excuse me, Jeff. If I was that, I would get like they did at the Super Bowl or the World Series. Get a big flag and hang it over the Green Monster in Fenway Park, Jeff, or here at the Batter's Eye in PNC Park, the Steel City, USA, Pittsburgh. We love America. But Jeff, here's the thing. Not that I want to sound like a prophet, Jeff, but Jeff, liberalism is Satanism.
Well, this is satanic. I mean, this is truly satanic. You can also text the Kuhner Man, 70470, 70470. Should the American flag be banned? Or at least should the flying of the American flag from someone's home or private property be banned? Communists now increasingly are saying yes, these communist Democrats. And as an example, the town of Newberry has now sent a letter to residents, homeowners on Plum Island, telling them that in order to protect, I swear to you, the shorebirds, an endangered species, they are not allowed to fly the American flag in events leading up to and on July 4th itself. And if they do fly any American flag, this will be considered a massive violation. They will be heavily fined, and they will also face civil penalties as well. Residents on Plum Island are shocked, stunned, rattled, and extremely angry. And I don't blame them. And this is now from 603. And I think 603 hits the nail right on the head. Jeff, realize that this dictate is coming from a small handful of people, essentially the town selectmen of Newbury, who are all hardcore communist moonbats. It needs to be viewed for what it is, an attack on our republic. This dictate needs to be resisted and fought on every level. The residents of Plum Island need to defy this order and fly their flags. Even go so far as to post their U.S. flags on the fronts of their homes. Additionally, the patriots of Plum Island need to launch a massive class action lawsuit against the town of Plum Island and legally go after the selectmen themselves. The left likes lawfare? Then give them lawfare. You're a genius. You're a genius, 603. Absolutely hit the nail on the head. Flyer flags, put Old Glory right on the porch. Right on the porch. Fly it high, fly it everywhere. Put it in the front of your house. Everywhere. The more flags, the better. And then go after the town selectmen. Massive class action lawsuit. You want lawfare? We're going to give you lawfare. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Mark in New York. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome. Mark, do we have you?
Yes, it's Mark in Medford.
Mark in Medford. Mike, this is what I'm talking about, Mike. The guy's calling me from Medford. You've got New York City on the board, for God's sake. All right, my apologies. Mark in Medford. Go ahead, my friend.
Well, Jeff, the first thing I would do if I was a resident of Newbury and Plum Island, I would litter my house, literally, with American flags. You couldn't even recognize my house. And then, to top it off, I'd go on my roof and paint the biggest American flag you could possibly imagine. So, Jeff, you're being awfully specific here. Are they really saying you can fly any other flag but the American flag and it won't?
Well, that's the amazing thing. The residents are saying, I mean, this is coming from the residents. They go, we have a lot of liberals on Plum Island. And they're like, well, they fly the transgender flag, the LGBTQ, the rainbow flag, Black Lives Matter flags. And they're even pointing them out. They go, look, they're here, here. They go, they never got a letter. In years. It's been going on for years. They never got a letter. Nothing. No problem. What changed was this. Look, Mark, I'll give you the actual backstory. It's 30 seconds, and I want you to comment. So about 2 weeks ago, there was a couple of individuals. I could name them, but they may be uncomfortable. So I don't want to name them. I don't want to get them in more trouble or expose them to maybe vandalism or God knows, So I won't name them. If they call into the show, that's something else. And they said, look, we really want to do something nice for the 250th. It's just, it's a milestone and it's a big birthday. And so they said, you know what? Let's make it more festive. Let's really bring out Americana. Bring everybody together. Come on, let's just celebrate America's birthday and put our differences aside. So what they did was they bought 50 U.S. flags and 100 revolutionary style sort of flag signs. And they went around Plum Island and they gave them to people. Hey, do you want a flag? Yeah, I want to fly it on the 4th. You got it. And so they distributed about 50 flags and 100 of these signs. So they said it would really be very patriotic, very festive. Then they organized a big fireworks show. So the liberals found out, oh, what's this? It's not going to be a sleepy 4th. You know, because we're embarrassed of the 4th of July. We don't want to party here. No, hey, these peasants, these patriots, they're going to be flying that flag. And there's going to be the flag of the 13 colonies, and there's going to, wait, what the hell's this? And a big fireworks show, and a huge barbecue, and no. How do we stop it? The Endangered Species Act. That's how we'll get them. And suddenly, the main organizer of this, flag display and of flying the flag, he gets the first letter. And he couldn't believe it. And they said, we see one flag on your house, one flag on your porch. You're going to be hit with a massive fine. And there could be civil ramifications. In other words, they're going to make his life miserable. So they're going to financially ruin him and then basically try to drive him off Plum Island. And that's the backstory. So I'm telling you, Mark, the LGBT flags, transgender flags, Black Lives Matter flags, no problem. Suddenly an American flag, you could kill a shorebird. Now, this guy, because reporters are now seeing him, they're visiting him, and he's like literally saying, look, you see right there? Look, it goes for mile after mile after, look, there's nothing. It's water and sand. There's not a house there. It's 10 miles of open beach, unimpeded beach. My flag is going to pose a threat to shorebirds when they've got 10 miles of unimpeded beach? Like the whole thing is I can't say it, Bravo Sierra, bullcrap. He goes, this is naked harassment and discrimination. These are communists who are coming after me because they hate the American flag. And I'm telling you, they're using the birds as an excuse to ban the flag. Not all flags, just the American flag. Mark, in all seriousness, what would you advise the residents of Plum Island to do?
Double, triple, quadruple up on your flags, people. Let them sue you, because there is no way in God's green earth that any judge would even accept this lawsuit. Jeff, how is this being allowed? This is unconstitutional. There are laws on the books preventing things like this, and yet they're not being enforced. They're not being upheld. Freaking Mayor Wu took down the flag and put up the Somali flag for their independence. Are you freaking kidding me, Jeff? How is this allowed?
Mark, as always, dynamite call. By the way, not to pile on, but Jacob, you're right about Mayor Wu, okay? And the Chinese flag, the China flag, that's okay. The flag of Communist China, no problem. But Jacob Fry, the crazy moonbat mayor of Minneapolis, he flew the Somali flag for Somali Independence Day. They raised it at City Hall all the way. The American flag, verboten. It's forbidden. But the Somali flag, and they even sang the Somali national anthem. And you know what put his hand on his heart? I swear to you, Jacob Frey. So, and I'm telling you something else. I take it to the bank. If you want to fly the China flag, the flag of China, of Communist China, you're not going to get a letter from the town of Newberry. The flag of Somalia, you're not. The flag of Haiti now, everybody's crying for the Haitians. All the moonbats are crying for the Haitians here in Massachusetts. You fly that flag of Haiti, it could be a giant 100-foot flag. No problem. The birds are just going to have to learn to fly around it. But, a little 6x9 or whatever, a little 3x6 American flag off of your little flag post, now that's got to come down. You could kill a bird. 617-266-6868. Arthur in Chestnut Hill. Thanks for holding, Arthur, and welcome.
Well, I'm sorry I lived this long to see what's going on in this country today. And to begin with, we've come a long way since our 200th anniversary, that's for sure. And this is more than the American flag, Jeff. And this is more than just a communist movement that's going on in this country. We have an Islamic jihadist movement in this country that we're not doing anything about. We've got the communist movement that we're not doing it about. And remember, a lot of these people came through the floodgates when Biden had the doors open and just let everybody in. Because remember that I pointed out all the Chinese people that were coming in that looked like they were military types, and they snuck in that way. And also, socialism, democratic socialism, is the same as National Socialism, which was with the Nazi Party. And given all the anti-Semitism that is flourishing in this country today, that it's getting worse and worse and worse. You know, they have socialist zones growing up all over the country, and pretty soon as they expand, like they've done, like places like that in England, it's going to be where no Jews are going to be allowed to be served or to be allowed to go there without the threat of their safety. Now, getting back to the flag and this baloney with Newbury, because you know what? That's totally meaningless. This has been going on since Anthony Scalia made that stupid ruling that burning the flag was free speech. And I've said this for years. The flag is more than free speech. The flag stands for America. It is America. People picked that flag up in battle and gave their lives to hold that flag up, to rally people to fight for our freedom. But what we have in this country today are people who don't deserve that freedom. Because we'll talk about this today, and it's a big deal because it's July 4th. But you know what? On July 5th, that's the end of it. Okay? Just like Memorial Day, when we celebrate all the people who gave their lives. After that's over, they go on. What we need today is election integrity. That's what the founding fathers fought for. And Trump, here's a message for you. Forget the Congress. They're not going to get that Save America thing passed, even if you turn around and then the filibuster. You need to get this to the Supreme Court to end mail-in balloting once and for all. You need vote. The rolls to be investigated so that people who are dead and aren't citizens don't belong on voter rolls. This is something that he's only got 120 days because they stole that landslide election that he won in 2020. You think how easy it's going to be for them to steal the House come this election, because they know this is their only chance. They've got to do it, and they will. And by the way, we haven't been doing well in the elections that have been run. And another thing, we've got to end having primaries in the summertime when nobody votes. And these people, like Mondami, he never should have been allowed to run. He never should have been allowed to come into this country. He lied on his application to come in here. And yet not only do we allow him to come in, we allow him to run for office and to be mayor. How stupid can we be? And we did that with Ilhan Omar. And you know what? We even did that with Obama. You think you and me could run for president if we were born here, but we don't have a real birth certificate? Of course not. They only allowed that because he was black. And if we hadn't have done that and followed the rules, look where we'd be today. Since Obama became president, that's when the hatred for America started. And if we don't do anything about it, it's disgusting to watch. We need to blame ourselves. We have only ourselves to blame, Jeff.
You know, Arthur, I'm not trying to pour more gasoline on the fire. I'm really not. But to your point about these are Islamo-communists, they're not just, atheist communists. They're now pushing not just communism, which is destructive, but they're pushing vile anti-Semitism, jihadism. To prove your point, one of the Mamdani socialists that won in the primary and now is going to win in November because it's a very safe blue seat, was for the state senate in New York. Please don't take my word for it. Her name is Aber, A-B-E-R. Here's the last name, Kawas, K-A-W-A-S. Aber Kawas. She won. She is wears a hijab. She doesn't show any part of her body except for her face. She openly celebrates the 9/11 attacks. She openly celebrates. She openly says the United States had 9/11 coming. Why? Because according to her, we are a capitalist, racist, white supremacist, and Islamophobic society. And it's our Islamophobia, our racism, our white supremacy, our capitalism that caused 9/11, that we deserved 9/11, that we had it coming. Now, in New York, they're going to have this mayor. He campaigned for her, by the way. He defended her. He said, quote, she's my sister in Islam. This is the mayor of New York is going to preside over the 25th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. 3,000 dead. And he's running around with people who are saying, we had it coming. The more dead, the better. We deserved it. What say you, Arthur?
Well, why do we allow these people to take a seat and to run for office? They don't belong in this country. We allow it. We do. No country in the world. Do you think China allows this? Does Russia allow it? North Korea, Iran, all the people who are the enemies of the world, they're smart enough to realize not to allow this. This is the way this country is going down from within. And to allow people like that, and as I pointed out, Mandami not only shouldn't have been allowed in this country, he shouldn't have been allowed to run for office. We shouldn't allow these people. We need to go back to maybe McCarthy doing it the right way, but you know what? When we fought communism, when communism was against the law and you were considered a spy or a traitor, we were a greater country back then. We were a better country back then. And maybe we need to do that again. We need to get our enemies out of here. And you know what? The Democratic Party is an enemy of this country. And maybe they should be outlawed because they've got the greatest organized crime family that exists. Look what they've done. This is not the Democratic Party of JFK or the one we grew up with. And there aren't any more liberals in this party, so there's no point calling them liberals. Because these aren't liberals. These are enemies of this country. They have only one agenda, destroy America. And if we don't get off our ass and do something about it, you know what? We're running out of time, Jeff.
Well, that's Trump. I mean, I don't know if you saw his speech, but that was Trump's point in his speech. And I think he's not 100. I think he's 1,000% correct. Arthur, as always, thank you very much for that call. Look, bring back HUAC. I'm telling you, Joseph McCarthy, everyone's saying it. It's all over social media now. They're like, I bought into the liberal spin about McCarthy and the Democrat lies about McCarthy. He goes, Joseph McCarthy was right. He was, especially now. Bring back the House Un-American Activities Committee. Because I'm telling you, if you do, you're 95% of the Democratic Party out. Out. That's how bad it's now become. Look, I'm going to play the cut, okay, because you have to hear it to believe it. James Carville, Bill Clinton's top political advisor, basically the man who helped him win 2 elections, okay, diehard liberal, partisan Democrat, rabid anti-Trumper, is now saying Either you kick these democratic socialists of America, communists out, or I'm leaving the Democratic Party. Because he's openly saying it. These people are full-throated communists. And they will destroy the Democrats, and they will destroy America. Carville is saying this. Okay, my friends, just to show you the civil war that is now erupting within the Democratic Party. Listen now, this is James Carville. He clearly was the power behind the throne for the Clintons in both the 1992-1996 elections. Clearly a senior figure in the Democratic Party. Personally, I can't stand the guy. I think he's, a moral reprobate, but it doesn't matter. This is a man who, for decades and decades, very partisan Democrat, very influential Democrat, rabid anti-Trumper, and a diehard liberal/progressive Democrat. I mean, he's been a hardcore lib his whole life. And even now, he's saying what Mamdani is now unleashing, and Bernie and AOC and Graham Plattner. He said this is communism. And when you start talking, and Carville was explicit, when you start saying abolish prisons, abolish the police, no borders, abolish the borders completely, confiscate private property, nationalize most industries. When you have someone like Chevalier, who's going to be a member of Congress, a Mamdani socialist, Dari Chevalier, Avila Chevalier, say she hates America so much, she wipes her hands with the American flag. She uses it as an apron. When you have others, including her, saying, you want to know what our ultimate goal is? To destroy America, their words, to destroy America as we know it and overthrow Western civilization. As Carville said, these are radical insurgent communists. And they will destroy the Democratic Party, and they will destroy America should they ever seize power. Listen now to Carville saying, if this is the new Democratic Party, I'm out. I'm out. Roll cut 100, Mike. All right, we're having some technical issues. We had to bleep out some of the F-bombs, but he can see the writing on the wall. There is a communist revolution. It has now infected and taken over much of the Democratic Party. And like a cancer, it's Carville who's saying this. He goes, it will spread. And when it spreads, it will go from institution to institution, and it will go from city to city, state to state. And before you know it, we will have a country that is half free, half socialist. And once that happens, a divided nation cannot stand. And on this, Carville is 1,000% correct. No question about it. Okay, Mike, are you still having a hard time? Okay, no worries. Let's go back to the phones, and when you fix the glitch, we'll play the cut. All right, you got it?
Understand, these people do not like Democrats. Not only are they not Democrats, they wish Democrats poorly. So I just cannot. Maybe there's a way that you can say to, I guess Mamdani is the leader of it, is, you insist that, try to insist that the people that run under your banner run as a democratic socialist and don't use the Democratic Party as your guideline, and let's negotiate the terms of a schism here. Maybe we can part under some kind of advantageous terms for both of us. But I'm done. I'm not in a political party. I am totally comfortable in a political party that spends time questioning the policies of the government of Israel. In fact, I'm enthusiastic about that. I don't want to be in a political party that denies the right of the state of Israel to exist. That's just not, I just can't do that. I'm sorry. It's just not doable.
So he says he's out. Oh, it's more than denying the state of Israel and their right to exist. Believe me. They want to hunt Jews now in the United States. In fact, many of these members are saying openly that white people and Jewish people should not be served in restaurants. They should go to separate water. I'm not kidding. Separate water fountains, go to separate schools. In other words, they want a form of apartheid or a form of segregation, except they want these are their words, not mine. Brown black people to impose a form of racial subordination on white and Jewish people. I mean, it's the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, this is even Bill Maher's point. Bill Maher, another diehard Democrat, diehard liberal, he goes, you guys are the Klan. You're just picking different enemies. But you're pushing segregation. You're pushing Jim Crow. You're pushing apartheid. You want to return the ugliness of the past, except you just want different victims. That's it. We're not surviving this. Trump is right. If they seize power, our country, we're not surviving this. 617-266-6868 is the number. It's going to tear the country apart. John in Lowell. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi,
Jeff,
John.
it's the Federal Species Protection Act, is it not?
Yes.
So since when can a town enforce federal law, Jeff?
That's a great point.
Now, Jeff, here's the other thing. To any entrepreneur out there, I wish I had 10 grand saved up, because I would have so many American flag T-shirts printed, and I would be out there, because what are they going to do? Stop you from wearing the colors? Or buy little flags and have everyone walk around with them? Or tie them on their car antenna? Jeff, there's so many ways around this to just make a joke out of them. It's not even funny. So if you have 10 grand saved up, Jeff.
You can make a lot of money. No, I hear you. John, I want to ask you, because you've been such a long-time seasoned observer of the political scene, what is this signal for our country? I mean, Trump did a big speech on this over the weekend. I'm going to get to it, I promise. I mean, ban the flag on the 4th of July? Ay, ay, ay. John, what say you?
Jeff, the fact that we're even talking about this is a warning to everybody that we are at a tipping point. And this is it. He's right. This is it.
John, thank you so much for that call. And if I don't hear from you, happy 4th, my friend. Happy Independence Day. 617-266-6868 is the number. America now, America forever, baby. Okay, liberals now. I mean, you can't even call them liberals, really, honestly. Trump is right. Marxists, communists, socialists, whatever you want to call them. The radical insurgent left now says it's time to ban the American flag. Agree, disagree? Mike, who do you want me to go to next? Maria in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Maria, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. I live in New Hampshire, but clearly I'm from Massachusetts, and I love Newburyport and Plum Island. That's where I am every day off. I swim, I ride my bike, and that's where I am all the time. 2 weeks ago, they had a 5K road race for a fallen National Guard son, and they had the biggest flags I've ever seen hung by fire trucks and 2 cranes. They had flags everywhere, all along the waterfront. No one had an issue with it. On Plum Island, tell me exactly, how can you be a communist and a capitalist at the same time? Because you cannot buy on Plum Island today for under $1 million. You just can't. And there, on a regular day, half of the houses have American flags. So, and this is a kicker. You're talking about the bird sanctuary. It's huge along Plum Island. Yes. How do you have a tourist airport right in the middle of it, but you can't fly a flag?
That's incredible. I didn't know that. That's incredible. So they have a tourist airport right there.
All those little airplanes that fly along the seacoast, right there, right there, right in the middle of the sanctuary.
Wow. Wow. My God, are they stupid? I mean, these moonbats are so stupid. Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, they're morons. It's mind-blowing. And, the other thing, Maria, is, the moonbats in this state are so big on windmills. They want windmills everywhere. Everywhere. If you can stick a windmill, stick it. Nothing kills wildlife more, birds in particular, than windmills. By the way, they're a horrible source of power. They don't work. They generate very little power. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, they're an aesthetic atrocity, an absolute atrocity. But number three, if you're an environmentalist, the birds that these windmills kill, but you see, windmills, no problemo. But a couple of extra American flags on July 4th, and suddenly all the protected shorebirds are going to get massacred. Wee you. That's Marxist moonbat logic for you, Maria. Maria, if you, I know you go there quite often to relax and enjoy the island and the surroundings. What do you think is going to happen? Because you know the people there. And what should the people on Plum Island do? If you were living there, if you were a homeowner, a resident, what would you do?
Well, if I was living there, I wish I could live there. I would fly a flag anyway, regardless. If I was living there, I'd be making over $1 million a year anyway. So who cares about a little fine? And Jeff, about those windmills, they don't have not one windmill on Plum Island. Not one. There's one in Newbury, but there are no windmills in Newburyport or Plum Island.
Incredible. It's just incredible. Do you think the people of Plum Island are going to comply, or do you think they're going to defy it?
I think some might. Some of the Richie Riches that moved in, and, because everything is, all these amazing, they call them air fingers, cottages are built on stilts, which is a great idea. A great idea if you want to live in that community. But the cottages, the actual cottages that we all grew up with out there, there are very few of them left. So I'm hoping that some of the original people are going to continue to put their flags up.
Amen. Maria, dynamite call, very informative. Thank you so much. 617-266-6868 is the number. Bob in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
I got a little bit something to say, a little bit different what we've been talking about, but it's the same poison going on in this country. I don't know if you heard it or not, but Moonbat Maura Healey won't send a delegate to the State Fair in Washington from Massachusetts.
Yes.
Because of cost issues. She has no problem giving millions of dollars to illegal aliens or backing every pride nonsense that goes on in the state. But she won't do this in Washington because of cost. Now, she's not doing it because of Trump.
I would go even deeper. And you're right, Bob. You're completely right. Don't get me wrong. But I would go even deeper. No, I think she doesn't want Massachusetts to participate. I mean, I did a whole X post on this, and a lot of people agreed with me. I said she doesn't want Massachusetts to participate in the 4th of July celebrations and activities. Yes, it's anti-Trump, no question. But overall, Maura Healey hates the United States. She fits very well into Mom Donnie's new Marxist party. And so, to me, no. And by the way, it's to be fair, it's not just Maura Healey. It's not just Massachusetts. It's Rhode Island. It's Connecticut. It's Illinois. It's New York. It's California. You could run down the whole list. There's going to be at least 10 blue states that are saying we don't want to participate in the 4th of July. And what is to me especially painful as an historian, and one of the reasons why I so love to live in this state, crazy politics, high taxes, the Moonbats, let all that go. Lexington and Concord? Samuel Adams? Paul Revere? John Adams? No Massachusetts, no American Revolution. Again, I'm not trying to diminish the other, there were 13 colonies. I don't want to diminish the other colonies, but, most historians will say, really, there were 2 states that were pivotal. They were the driving engine of the American Revolution. It was Massachusetts and Virginia. Virginia gave us Washington, Jefferson, Madison. I could go on, but we had some of the, not just the top minds, but some of the top patriots, some of the most important seminal battles were fought in Massachusetts. Everything leading up to the American Revolution, starting with, the Tea Party. I could go on. It was all here in Mass. So we are the cradle of the American nation. We are the birthplace of the American Revolution. We are. That's our history, our heritage, our culture. It's something we should be so proud of. We should wear it on our sleeve. And they don't even want to participate in the activities and celebrations of the 4th of July on our 250th birthday? I'm sorry. They're not just a bunch of ingrates. They're not just sick and obscene. I'm telling you, they're traitors. They're traitors. And I know this for a fact because they will fly the Chinese Communist flag over the American flag again and again. They praise Communist China. Ask them. And they'll tell you, oh, it's the future. Oh, their economy. Oh, how technologically advanced. Oh, their social credit system. Boy, they have their people under control over there. Not like here. Oh, they're building all these solar panels and windmills. China, like the old Soviet Union. China is the socialist motherland. A brutal dictatorship. Brutal dictatorship. That massacres its own people, tortures religious minorities, is committing a genocide against the Uyghurs, crushed the people of Hong Kong, now is openly threatening to invade and conquer Taiwan. And that's the country, this totalitarian empire, that's the country that was built upon Mao Zedong and the mass murder of 60 million innocent people, most of them starved to death. And that's your great model for the world? These people are sick. So, Bob, to be brutally honest, on the surface, yes, it's anti-Trump. But what Trump said in his speech, deep down, there's some very dark, dangerous impulses. She sees the American flag, she wants to burn it. She sees the Constitution, she wants to bury it. She sees 4th of July, 1776, she wishes it never happened. That's Maura Healey. That's the Democrats in this state in a nutshell. Bob, am I wrong?
Right. One thing you left out about China. every week they start a new coal burning plant.
Bingo. But the Dems never mention that. The Libs never mention that. Lines are jammed. Dave on Plum Island. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Thank you, sir. God bless you. God bless everything you do. God bless your listeners. God bless the United States.
Thank
I'm
you.
right
Thank
here
you, Dave.
on Ground Zero. The only guy on my street, not only the only guy on the street, but the only guy on the island who has the testicular fortitude, apparently, to put up a Trump sign. I got neighbors putting Kamala signs all over the place. Anyway, day after the election, I get an anonymous note in my mailbox. Dear neighbor, at this point in time, it's a common courtesy to remove all political signs from one's property, this kind of nonsense. Anyway, I was a little remiss. Somebody texted me at 5:30 this morning, and she says, is it true what's going on the island? She must have said you wrote on X. I said, I really didn't. I haven't gotten any letters in the mail. But anyway, I appreciate what you're doing here, this service, because I promptly put up my Gadsden flag and the Betsy Ross flag. So I'm sure this is going to rub my neighbors the wrong way. I'm kind of an anomaly here because I'm a redneck that got grandfathered into this place. And all around me. Are you still there, sir?
I'm listening to every word. Dave, to be honest with you, there's nothing wrong, literally, to be a redneck. The reason why people used to be called rednecks was because they used to, and it's mostly to Scotch-Irish, was because they would work so hard in the fields or doing construction that they'd be in the sun all day and their necks turned red from the sun. So it really means someone who works extremely hard, who's such a freaking hard worker that their necks are red from the work, from the sun, from being in the sun all day. So to me, there's no dishonor or no shame in being a redneck. In fact, quite the opposite. I hope you fly your Gadsden flag. It's a great flag. The Betsy Ross flag, it's another great flag. And Dave, what I'd like to, you're kind of, giving us a little bit of a picture. As a Trump supporter, you're not welcome there. You're surrounded by liberals and moonbats and radical leftists. I'm just curious, Dave, what is the atmosphere like on Plum Island? Is it a heavily liberal island? Do they hate the United States? Are they very anti-American? Why are they getting these letters? And why would the town of Newberry care whether you, Dave, fly an American flag on our 250th anniversary or not? Since when do shorebirds, since when are they more important than our flag? So, Dave, just how left-wing is Plum Island?
Well, it seems to me that there are a lot of government, public sector workers here. As we all know, they loot the private sector taxpayer. So there's a lot of that going on here. And
Dave, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but from everything I've read, they're saying you can't buy a home in Plum Island, anything less than, $1 million. Like, it's basically, it's 1 million and above. How does a government worker or a public sector union guy, how do they afford a $1 million home, Dave?
Yeah, you know how, Jeff. You'll be proud to know that I blast you out in the backyard when I'm working out. I got a sand pit in the back where my brother and I spar, and this other crazy Marine nut, we come over and we mix it up, and I got a rope out there, I got a tire, a sledgehammer, and I blast you, and my neighbors can't stand it.
Dave, what are you going to do on the 4th, my friend? You flying your flags?
Well, the flags are flying, but I usually blow off fireworks and my next door neighbor was yelling at me one summer. He found out that wasn't a good idea. He now keeps to himself.
He keeps to himself. So you think you're going to be okay on the 4th, my friend?
Yeah. Mullen Labe, Jeff. Mullen Labe.
Dave, God bless you, man. And please, don't stop being you, Dave. And don't be a stranger. Call again. That's why I have hope in America, because of people like Dave. I'm telling you, that's the salvation of America right there. Dave, God bless you, my friend. Thank you for that call. The hell with you. I'm going to blast Kuhner on loud in the morning. Gadsden flag, Betsy Ross flag, the American flag. I'm flying it every day. What do you mean 4th of July? Every day, 365 days. And he's not backing down. Good for him. 617-266-6868. But notice, I thought, again, see how naive I am. I honestly thought, well, I don't know, these are hedge fund people, tech people, like you made your money, whatever, in the private sector. I had no idea it's all these government hacks. When I heard, these are all government employees, public union hacks, and I'm like, how the hell did they afford $1 million? And I'm like, oh, of course, they stole it. That's our money. Yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe they just, inherited a home or they lived out there, Sandy. But I'm just thinking, boy, when you steal, you end up in Plum Island. And it's our money. It's our money. They're stealing our money. At the very least, you'd think they'd say thank you. Like, at least they would say, hey, look, we stole from the patriots and the peasants. Give them one day where they can fly their flag. Nope. Richard in Newberry. Speaking of Newberry. Richard, thanks for holding and welcome.
Jeff, the whole story is a bunch of bull, okay? The original letter, okay, came from the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife, went to the Conservation Commission in Newberry, and they evidently sent a copy of that to the residents of Newberry on Plum Island. Plum Island is made up of 4 towns, Newburyport, Newbury, Raleigh, and Ipswich. They all part of Plum Island. So evidently what the wildlife was saying to people is you don't want to put flags and streamers on the dunes and on the beaches in the sanctuary. These homes are not in the sanctuary. And the woman that called about the airport, that airport has been in operation for 115 years. It's the oldest airport in New England. Just a small little airport, and it's not in the reserve. Okay, I just want to get that stuff cleared up.
Well, no, but I mean, Richard, an airport can kill a lot of birds. No?
It's a small little Piper Cubs are the type of planes that fly there. There used to be a lot of double-wing
No,
planes.
but hold on. Are these endangered species or not, Richard? I mean, if they're going around harassing citizens with these letters, and by the way, I've read the letter, and the town of Newberry, which you're leaving out, they also said that it violates state wildlife laws and told them to take down the flags. They didn't say it was just in the dunes. So what I'm saying is, no, they're going after people for displaying the flag. And they're using protected shorebirds as an excuse. Let's call it what it is. The moonbats in Newberry are out of control. And they're out of control because a group of citizens said, let's grab a lot of flags and let's distribute it for the 4th of July big 250th birthday bash. So we're going to put a lot of flags out and we're going to put a lot of signs out. And they went crazy. How dare you have a big 250th birthday bash? Because President Trump, come on, let's be honest, is really making a big deal about our 250th anniversary. He's going all out. Celebrations at Washington, celebrations around the country. And these liberals hate Trump so much, that they now want to ruin 4th of July festivities because they see it as being part of the anti-Trump resistance. So, look, Richard, with all due respect, it's my home, it's my property. If I want to fly a flag, that's my business. If I want to fly an American flag, that's my business. And if I want to put flags out on a dune or on the front of my yard, that's my business. That's my business. The residents of Plum Island pay for that dune. They pay for all of that. It's their taxes that pay for everything. So a stupid little bird doesn't come before the needs and interests and values of the community. And, you know, let's have a little bit of common sense. It's our 250th anniversary. It's a massive milestone. It's an incredible achievement for any country, never mind a republic, and especially a republic like ours that has achieved and accomplished so much. We are the great. Look, somebody needs to tell these moonbats, and maybe you could give him the message for me. The United States is the greatest, freest, most prosperous country in the history of the world. In the history of the world. And I challenge them, find me one other country that's greater than the United States. Ever. One. Just one. They can't. They can't. Because there isn't any. So they can go on about racism and the Native Americans and this and that and white supremacy and on, homophobia, transphobia, Islamophobia. They come up with every sin under the sun. The world would come here in a second if they could. You've got World Cup soccer fans from all over the world, it's everywhere, saying they are marveling at the United States. They're coming from Africa, Middle East, Asia, Europe, everywhere, South America. They're saying, my God, what a country. But to the clowns in Newbury, to those anti-American Marxists, they have to denigrate our flag over some stupid shorebird? But they've got an airport. I don't care if it's 115 years old. It could be 300 years old for all I care. If you claim endangered species are so important, then you don't have an airport. Because everybody knows planes kill birds. So, no, they're a bunch of hypocrites. They want to have an airport because it's convenient, and then they roll out the Endangered Species Act when they want to harass people. Especially people who happen to be patriotic. And by the way, there are a ton of LGBTQ flags. You know it if you know anything about Plum Island, okay, and Newbury. And there's a ton of BLM flags and a ton of transgender flags. They didn't get a letter. They didn't get a letter. The only people that got a letter were the people who said, let's have a great 4th of July. We're going to have a really nice barbecue, a nice fireworks show, and let's buy more flags and more signs to really give it a sense of Americana. So how about everybody tell the people, the selectmen, the town of Newbury to get lost. Or as they used to say in Boston, screw. Am I wrong?
You're not letting me speak. Will you let me speak?
Go ahead.
They are not banning flags on Plum Island, on the homes on Plum Island. They're not banning flags. That is bull. They are not banning them.
We have the letters.
It was in the letter. It talks about streamers and flags, but it's just making people aware of in the sanctuary. You're not supposed to have flags and streamers in the dunes.
We're not okay. Again, you said that about 3 times already. Let me just for the sake of and by the way, it's not true. We have the letter, but let's just for the sake of argument, Why can't I put a flag in the dune? Why not?
You can't even
4th of
walk
July.
in the dooms. You can't now walk in the dooms on your Plum Island. There's walkways where you walk on.
No. It's 4th of July. It's the 250th birthday. We want to put flags everywhere to celebrate the 250th, and we're going to put a couple flags in the dunes. What's the problem?
Jeff, you're not even allowed to walk in the dunes anytime on Plum Island. You're not allowed to walk on them.
Who cares?
Right. Okay.
Who cares?
You got the story all screwed up. And,
no,
you
keep saying that over and over and over again. Notice the residents of Plum Island who got the letter, if you want, I can give you their reaction. They were told if you fly a flag on your home or on your property or on the front lawn, you are going to face a massive fine. So I'm sorry. What you're telling me is not true. But I'm even then, I'm conceding. I'm saying, look, okay, for the sake of argument. So, well, you can't walk on the dunes. I don't care. 4th of July, we want flags everywhere. So let's put a couple in the dunes. Well, you can't do that. Why can't you do that? Well, it could hurt the nesting. It could hurt the shorebirds. I don't care about the shorebirds. I'm telling you to your face, I don't care about the shorebirds. The shorebirds don't run Plum Island. The residents and the homeowners and the taxpayers who pay for everything, they run Plum Island. No?
It's
Hello?
2 separate areas. I said the residents are not in the reserves. That's different areas.
Oh, my God. All right, listen, Richard, I'm trying to be polite. But what I'm trying to explain to you is this, okay? They should never have sent out the letter. They're harassing people. They're harassing people for one reason and one reason only. People have been flying flags for years. Nobody got a letter, except when they decided to plan a big 4th of July event, and they were going to be they sent 50 flags and then 100 revolutionary signs. And then the select board in Newberry panicked, and they sent them the letter. So they're targeting people with American flags. It's obvious. It's obvious. And it says so in the letter. And not only does it say so in the letter, the residents got follow-up calls in which they were threatened not to fly the flag. If they did, they'd be facing heavy fines. So, but look at you. You're so cowardly, you won't stand up to those idiots in Newberry. No. We have the right to fly the flag anywhere we want. It's our country. We own it. Not the birds, not the endangered species, and not the communists on any board. 617-266-6868. Mark in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Hey, God bless. Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, if I told you 10 years ago that Americans would be willing to surrender their rights and their freedoms and their abilities to have a job and walk the streets, you'd say I was crazy, right?
Yes.
But what happened? COVID hit. And too many people said, you know what? I'll give up my rights for a little safety. Okay? The Democrats look at this, well, like you said, the communists look at this, Jeff, and they say, that's the blueprint. That's what we can do. We can use excuses to chip away. This is death by 1,000 cuts, Jeff. Okay, they already rule academia. They've already teaching kids to hate this country, that this country is not great. So now if they just start to chip away at patriotism, just a little bit at a time, they don't have to ban it altogether. Just chip away enough. A little bit of patriotism here, a little bit of liberty there, Jeff. And they'll eventually have enough of it stripped away where people will say, what happened? How come no one's putting up flags anymore? Well, nobody cares anymore. America's just a bad place. This is their goal, Jeff. It's a little bit at a time. Just scratch a little bit every single time, and eventually people aren't going to be patriotic. And not enough people speak up about this kind of crap. And it's sick, Jeff, because that's exactly what's been going on for probably well over a decade now.
Mark, I wish I could disagree with you, but I can't. You are not 100, you're 1,000% correct. And the media is also playing a big role in this. I want to play a cut and I want to get your reaction. This is CNN. So here's an anchor, Victor Blackwell, and he gets a Native American activist. Okay, her name is Rebecca Nagel. And right away, it's, well, what is there to celebrate on the 4th of July? What is there to celebrate our Day of Independence? Our founding fathers hated Native American Indians. My God, it was a genocide. Listen to the back and forth. It is stunning. Roll cut 18, Mike.
I have been surprised by how little Native Americans have been included in this story that we're telling on the 250th. And maybe surprise is the wrong word, but not even the superficial or the lip service that one might have expected. And I guess some of the message of the podcast is that I should not be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're all used to celebrating the lofty Enlightenment ideals that are there in the Declaration of Independence. But right alongside those was actually our founders' deep hatred for Indigenous people. And the line about merciless Indian savages, it's actually not a throwaway line. So that list of grievances, which you mentioned at the top, sort of all the reasons that our founders were angry at George III, the King of England. A lot of historians think that that list actually has an order, that it starts with smaller issues and kind of escalates, and that the last complaint is actually the thing that they were most angry about.
So there you go. That's what they're pushing. The mistreatment of Native American Indians, country was built on hate, blah, 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 blah. What say you, Mark?
They're puzzled, Jeff. It's another tool in their belt that they use to smear and to continually tell people America's not great. You should not celebrate this nation. How long, Jeff, is it going to be before an immigrants' rights group jumps up and says, look, we can't celebrate just...
Oh, Mark, can you please hang on? Okay, let's go right back to Mark in New Hampshire. Mark, you were making the point, it's a death by 1,000 cuts. Colleges, universities, academia, the media, the Democratic Party now, clearly. It's just attack America, and eventually people will stop celebrating the country. They won't even want to fly the flag or hang the flag outside their home. And then you were saying something about immigrants coming to the United States, and then we had to go to break. So please pick up where you left off.
Yeah, so how long, Jeff, do you suppose before someone like a Maura Healey or Michelle Wu says, look, our nation has this history of, suppressing people and their freedoms. How about instead of celebrating this nation, because it's really a flawed nation, let's celebrate our diversity, Jeff. Let's celebrate all the nations that make up this country, because they're the ones that really built it, Jeff. So we shouldn't celebrate America. We should celebrate the idea of America by celebrating all these other nations, Jeff. We need to have respect for our immigrant brothers and sisters and our immigrant neighbors, because just celebrating America might be offensive to them, Jeff. So we really should stop focusing so much effort on a white supremacist, horrible capitalist nation that makes it hard for our immigrant families to thrive in this country, Jeff. So let's stop being patriotic. Instead, let's come up with a new flag that celebrates our cultural diversity, and let's celebrate that instead.
Well, you nailed it, Mark. That's their ultimate goal. And they openly say it. It's part of the New World Order. It's part of the entire globalist project to turn the United States of America into the United Socialist States of America. And so they want a different flag. They want a different anthem. And they want us to say we're not a nation under God with liberty and justice for all. They want to undo the 4th of July, our Independence Day, and basically turn the United States into the United Nations, the ultimate globalist nation. We're a nation of nations. We're a culture of cultures. And that's how they want to destroy us from within. They want to destroy what's our unique historical cultural identity. That's why they're pushing bilingualism, trilingualism, different languages in the schools. That's why they're teaching them to hate everything about our country and our founding. You see, notice, when I played you the cut before the break about, Native Americans and oppression and, apparently how much which is not true, by the way. I mean, it's just not true. For example, George Washington did not hate Native American Indians. Quite the contrary. He allied with them to defeat the French when he was a British general and admired many aspects of the Native Americans, of the Indians. But anyway, let that go because they don't know history. Okay, they're historically ignorant. Was life better when Native American tribes were roaming North America? If you look at many of these Native American Indian tribes, I'm just stating a fact, not all, but many of them, cannibalism, literally cannibalism, constant warfare, slavery. You want to talk about oppression of women? You want to talk about being homophobic? And this whole idea how they were great stewards of the environment. You should see what they did to the buffalo. You should see what they did to the land. So almost everything they've taught us, again, I always say, look at the movie Apocalypto by Mel Gibson. That's the movie that really destroyed his career because it shows what life was like before the Europeans came to the New World. It's a life of absolute savagery, merciless, ruthless savagery of nonstop war, conquest, enslavement, brutality. They were slaughtering and invading each other. So what do again, I said this earlier, I couldn't get a response from that left-winger that called. Name me a single culture, a single country, a single civilization in the history of the world better than the United States. They can't come up with one. So if you can't appreciate and love this country and celebrate this flag, then what country or flag can you celebrate? And the answer is they can't. Because wherever communism has come, they want to destroy that native culture. So I've seen this playbook before, Mark, and it never works. Final word to you, Mark.
They've associated patriotism with racism, Jeff. That's what they've done. And that's strategic because they know if they can make people not be patriotic and stop loving this country, that's when they can start to strip away your rights. That's when they can take away the Second Amendment. And that's when they can eliminate all your other rights, Jeff. If they can just get rid of the few that are patriotic and love this nation. That's their goal. Eliminate patriotism, and the rest will fall into place.
Brilliant. Genius. Mark, genius. Absolute genius. Mark, have a wonderful 4th of July, and thank you again for another outstanding call. 617-266-6868. Okay, I promise I'm going to continue to take calls. I am going to start to play parts of Trump's speech. You need to hear it. It is, I think, his most important speech. Many are raving about it. It is a warning. Okay, this is from 781. You can text the Kuhner Man, 70470, 70470. That was that, I think Dennis was his name, or Richard, could have been Richard. The one who was calling saying, oh, you just can't put flags in the dunes, and we're making a big deal out of nothing about what's happening on Plum Island. And this is what 781 said, and I think his text is checkmate. Game, set, match. Jeff, if a group of quote-unquote migrants were camping out on the dunes of Plum Island, the leftists would be bringing them food and water. Of course they would. Of course they would. Jeff, you can't even walk on the dunes. What do you mean you may put a flag on the dunes during 4th of July? You can't do that on Independence Day. If they were illegals and they were on those dunes, they would be allowed to walk. They'd be allowed to sleep. They'd be allowed to have an encampment. You'd bring them food. You'd bring them water. And by the way, they could be flying a Somali flag, a Mexican flag, any freaking flag, and you guys would have no problem with it whatsoever. So come on, let's stop BSing us, okay? Stop BSing us. 617-266-6868. Okay, it is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Will you watch fireworks this 4th of July? I am definitely watching. There's going to be a big fireworks show in my town. I'm going to definitely be watching. Grace, Ashton, Ava, we're going to make it a big family event. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in National ER. You can also vote on X, my handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN as in National ER. I'm going to make a prediction now. I don't think the left is going to stop anymore at banning flags, the U.S. flag. They're going to go for the fireworks as well. They're going to ban fireworks on 4th of July, on Independence Day. Because it's part of our history. It goes all the way back to our revolution. And actually, we launched fireworks on to celebrate 4th of July, our independence. That's why we do it every year. It's a great custom. It's a great tradition in the United States. And they're going to get rid of that. You take it to the bank. They're already going to claim it's too dangerous. It could lead to forest fires. It could endanger wildlife, endangered species. They'll come up with some reason. But I'm telling you, they are going to ban fireworks on the 4th. And it's already happening in Utah. And that's under a Rhino Republican governor. The Rhino Republican governor now has signed an executive order banning fireworks across the entire state of Utah on the 4th, on Independence Day. So it's inevitable. Unless we push back, unless we stand our ground, as Trump says, and push back, they're not going to stop. Okay, so very quickly. Mamdani socialists swept the elections last week, not just in New York City. They're sweeping them in state after state after state. And the Democratic Socialists of America, as we have now found out, are being funded by an American billionaire who is actually a Maoist. He is an open admirer of China's genocidal dictator Mao Zedong, who killed at least 60 million people. He is an avowed communist. He spends most of his time in China. He's a tech billionaire who lives in China but is an American citizen. So his name is Neville Roy Singman. So Neville Roy Singman. Now, Neville Roy Singman is bankrolling the Democratic Socialists of America. He is funding them to the hilt. He and George Soros. Those are the two big money people. The importance now is that the DSA has intricate dealings with the Chinese Communist Party. They communicate with them. They strategize with them. They take a lot of their money from them, or frontmen like Singham, people like him who funnel money. So they are very well financed, and they are bending the knee to Communist China. And they are now pushing the following: abolish all prisons, abolish all police. This is their platform. Abolish all borders. The United States must have no borders. Abolish ICE. So flood the country with tens and tens and tens of millions of illegals. Seize and confiscate private property. Medicare for all. In other words, complete government takeover of the entire healthcare system. Virulently anti-Israel, virulently anti-Semitic, virulently anti-white. They want to nationalize almost every key industry in the United States. And the heart of their platform, they want to give away American land back to Native American Indian groups and reparations for slavery. In other words, if you look at their platform, it is designed to literally destroy and bankrupt the United States. They get into power, criminals will roam, murderers, rapists, child predators, you name it. There will be no police. We will be utterly invaded and swamped by illegals and migrants. And basically, everyone's homes or property is going to be seized. And then eventually given away to the migrants, to the underclass, to the criminals, and to Native American Indian groups. You can see why Communist China is bankrolling them. An Islamo-communist revolution is the death knell for this country. President Trump delivered a warning in one of his most important speeches of either term. Listen now to the president saying, as we approach our 250th anniversary, there is now a fifth column, an enemy within, that if not stopped, will undo and destroy everything we have built since 1776. Roll cut one, Mike.
This is the greatest threat to our country since its founding, in my opinion, 250 years ago, what's happening right now. It's the greatest threat. People don't look at that, well, oh, 3 people were elected. No, it's many more than 3 people. And the other people are being swayed because they don't have the sense to see what's happening. They don't have the sense. Their followers are not leaders, even though they're politicians, in some cases successful ones.
So he's telling us this is the greatest threat since our founding. And he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And he says the man now that's really masterminding this is Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of New York City, who has formed an alliance with Bernie Sanders, with AOC, with the Squad, with Graham Plattner, with California Governor Gavin Newsom, with Governor Kathy Hochul. He has now slowly made the DSA the power center within the Democratic Party. And Mamdani now is making his move. And Trump now outlines how this communist revolution is beginning to unfold and what the next steps of it are going to be. And now, like a prophet, he is saying, if we don't cut them off at the pass, if we don't prevent this from happening now, we are going to rue the day, because like a cancer, it is going to spread and spread and spread. And so what Mamdani has now done is he has packed a board. It's a rent stabilization board with his cronies. And he's now making a play to take over all of the housing. Okay, I want you to listen all to President Trump. You need to hear it. You really need to hear parts of his speech. It is an absolute warning to the country. He says it is the greatest threat we have ever faced since our founding. I agree with him. He says now what you have are socialists, Marxists, communists, statists, collectivists, whatever you want to call them. But these are radical insurgent communists from the Democratic Socialists of America who have now clearly infiltrated thoroughly the Democratic Party. And Mamdani is one of their key leaders. Mamdani now, and it's a huge story in New York, but they want to do this in many cities. So New York is first, but believe me, it's coming to Boston, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Atlanta, Portland, Seattle, Illinois, LA. It's going to spread like a cancer. Mamdani came in. There's a rent stabilization board. And for about 1 million apartments, it's basically a form of rent control. You can maybe raise rent 2%, 3%, but you can't raise rent very much. The problem now is that Mamdani has completely taken over the board, purged it of everyone except his supporters. And now they have imposed a rent freeze for 2 years. Now, many of you are going to say, Jeff, isn't a rent freeze a good thing? I mean, people are struggling to pay their bills, to buy groceries, to pay for gas. Rent is expensive. This should be a good thing. Well, here's the problem. Now that you have frozen all of these rents for 2 years, but expenses keep going up for the owners of these homes. Remember, they're the ones who provide you with the apartment. They're the income providers. They're the ones giving you a place to stay. Well, if their heating costs go up, if their energy costs go up, which they are, if their taxes are going up, which they are, if their estate taxes under Mamdani are going to go up, which they are, and they can't get any more revenue, what's going to happen? They're going to go broke. They're going to go bankrupt. They'll have no money, by the way, for repairs or upkeep or modernization. And so what happens is the landlords get poorer and poorer and poorer. And this has been tried in countries all over the world. When you have rent control, especially rent freeze, these areas become third world style ghettos and dumps. Because the landlord has no money. The landlord's losing his shirt. And then after a while, because the landlord is going broke and the area is going to the dogs because it's getting poorer and poorer and more ghettoized, the state comes in, and this is Mamdani's plan, and says, I'll tell you what, we'll take the property off your hands. And that's what they do. It's paving the way for a complete government takeover of millions and millions of apartments and apartment buildings all across New York City. And he says, you may not like your landlord, but your landlord is infinitely better than the government, than public housing. Look at every public housing project. It is a disaster. Flea-ridden, crime-ridden, drug-ridden, completely and utterly unsafe. No one should raise their children in public housing projects. And so suddenly, you turn an entire city into a third world hellhole. all under the guise of quote-unquote free rent or low-cost rent or quote-unquote rent control. Listen now to Donald Trump saying Mamdani has now made his first big step towards nationalizing home ownership and having the state control several million apartments and apartment buildings in New York. And it's going to be a nightmare. Roll cut 1A, Mike.
For the first time in history, the powerful Rent Stabilization Board, as an example, that sets rents in New York City, just happened today. They've done it for years and years, and they've been very far left. They're run by Democrats, and they give landlords a hard time for years and years. It's called rent control. They give landlords a hard time, but they always give some increases so they can survive. But they just came out, first time ever, with a ruling, 0 rent increases for landlords, 0 for the next 2 years, despite the fact that energy, supplies, real estate taxes, and just about everything else has gone up. They're supposed to allow you to have that. 0.
Okay, 0. That means you can't make it, literally, your income can go up, but your costs are going through the roof. You see how this is going to end. Now, listen to Trump. They're doing this because what does the DSA preach? What's a key platform? Seize and confiscate property. So they bankrupt you to then seize your property. To seize either your rental unit, to seize your apartment, to seize your home. Say you're renting an apartment or two in your own home. They want to start seizing people's property. Roll cut 1B, Mike.
Basically confiscating their property. And the one representative for the landlords who's on the board, I think they have 8 or 9 people on the board, and you had one who was representing one out of like 8. But at least you had somebody. But that person walked off in disgust, walked off and got booed. Mayor Mamdani, who came to the White House and seems like a nice guy, but he said he was going to do this in his campaign. Nobody thought he was serious. He said he was going to make sure that people don't have a rent increase, even though energy went up. It's going to come down. It's coming down fast right now. I hope you're watching what's happening.
So basically, he promised he was going to do this, and he's doing it. And he says what the mayor is not telling you is that you squeeze the landlords and bankrupt the landlords, the neighborhood goes to hell, the buildings go to hell, the apartments go to hell, and before you know it, you've got a ghetto and a slum. And that's when the government swoops in and says we're going to nationalize and buy everything. Now, the man is the state. It's communist-style public housing. Roll cut 2, Mike.
But what the mayor doesn't say is that these buildings will soon turn into ghettos and slums, and that everybody will continue leaving New York. And as this spreads throughout the country, very much like an uncontrollable form of cancer, the country itself will be taken down. It will be third world, strictly third world. And it's happened many times before to very big and very powerful countries. But it's not going to happen to the United States of America. No way.
In other words, he's going to fight it. He's going to fight it. Trump is now casting himself as the ultimate anti-communist. What he's saying is, look, this is now a battle between communism and anti-communism, between socialism and freedom. And in the end, a country cannot be both half socialist or half communist and half free. A divided house cannot stand. Listen now to President Trump saying, this is now the seminal challenge in front of us. Roll cut 2A, Mike.
Communism really is the past, and freedom is the future. That's what we are. All we want is freedom. Freedom is going to be, freedom gets you everything. Everyone needs to get out and vote in the midterms. We have to win this election. This election is very vital. If we don't, everything that we've gotten so much. I mean, religious liberty, but we've gotten so much.
Now, listen to President Trump. It's clear now the lines he's going to fight the midterms on. He's saying Mamdani, Bernie, AOC, the radical left of the Democratic Party, which has now hijacked the Democrats, if they seize the midterms and they seize power in Congress, he goes, they will destroy the United States piece by piece. The Democratic Party has now become the Communist Party. And this election is really no longer a referendum on me or my policies or even what you think about the war in Iran or inflation or the affordability or any of those issues. Because now you've got a communist monster at the gates. Roll cut 3, Mike.
Never forget, if the radical left ever gets the chance, they will bring all of this insanity right back at levels that you've never seen before. You will never have seen anything like it if they ever get their chance. And they're trying like hell. I call them the Democrats. I exchanged an E for a U. The Democrats. And that's it's trending number 1, the word Democrat. I just can't believe I didn't think of it 9 years ago. I should have thought. The Democrats, they are horrible.
They are. They are. Personally, I prefer commie-crats because I think that captures them even better than Democrats. I like Democrats. I prefer commie-crats even a little bit more. But he's right. Okay, he's right. If they seize power, the lunatic left will be in charge. And Trump says, here's what's coming. You want to know what's coming? Here's what's coming. Roll cut 3A, Mike.
They want to resume the transgender mutilation of our children. They want to restart the war on Christians and churches. And as you saw with the communists elected in New York City recently, they're communists, they're not social democrats. They want to completely destroy the traditional American way of life.
Bingo. Bingo. They want to destroy everything that is good and decent about America. Our very freedoms, our Constitution, our Christian heritage, our Christian culture, our Christian faith. They are going to engage in the transgender mutilation of our children. They are going to seize and confiscate private property. They are going to completely abolish the border, period. They're going to let criminals and rapists and child molesters roam the streets. In other words, we're going to have pure anarchy and chaos. Absolute anarchy and chaos. These people are insane. And by the way, the one element that Trump, I thought, forgot to mention and should have mentioned was they're not just openly anti-Christian, which they are, because they're very pro-Muslim, but they're virulently anti-Semitic. They want to drive the Jews out of every city they control. They're open about it. And they want Israel wiped off the face of the earth. They are in bed with jihadist terrorist groups. They support Hamas. They support Hezbollah. They openly side with the Islamofascists in Tehran against the United States, against our forces. They are the fifth column within. Listen now to President Trump saying communism is alluring. Socialism, Marxism is alluring. You know why? Because it promises people everything will be quote unquote free. Free rent, free food, free heating, free phones, free health care. Everything is quote unquote free until it isn't. Roll cut 4, Mike.
Communism is very easy to sell. It destroys everything, but it's very easy. I'll be honest, I think I'd be the greatest communist in history. I'd give free rent. Ladies and gentlemen, from now on, you don't have to pay any rent. From now on, anybody wants a house, don't worry about it. Just pick the house you want. Everybody gets free food. Everything is free from this point forward. Everyone's going to vote for me. The problem is, after 2 or 3 years, the country is a disaster area. The country fails. They always do. It always does. So easy to sell. That first year, boy, you're the most popular. It's happening right now in New York and California.
Bingo. But then, after la revolución, then the laws of economics, the laws of human nature, the laws of living in a society begin to kick in. And then, like in every communist revolution, every communist country, every communist society, misery, poverty, squalor are everywhere. Listen now to Trump. Roll cut 4A, Mike.
But you'll start living in squalor. You'll live in squalor. There will be no food. There will be no housing. There will be no military. There will be no law and order. There will be no nothing. There will be no nothing. You'll be a third world inhabitant in every way, and everyone will suffer or die. You'll suffer or die. That's what happens. For thousands of years it's been happening by different names. Thousands of years. I'm telling you, I'd be the greatest communist in history. It would be so easy. You wouldn't have to work. You could stay home. The problem is a couple of years go by, the whole place collapses. Always does. Always has.
Now, he then gives an ominous warning, and I want all of you to put down what you're doing, whatever, and you got to listen to this. And he's right. He's completely right. The one thing that comes with communism and socialism, always, because it doesn't work, you have to then force or coerce people into doing whatever you need or want them to do. It always then comes with violence. Destroy your opposition. Wipe them out. Take out their top political leaders. Assassinate them. Murder them. Imprison them. Jail them. It is always violent. It launches its revolution based on violence. It keeps its power on violence. And it refuses to relinquish power because it always ultimately resorts to violence. At the heart of communism is mass violence and mass murder. There is no getting around this fact. Listen to Trump. He's telling us if we don't nip this cancer in the bud, not only can this country not survive half communist and half free, or half socialist and half free, but the communists, the socialists, the Democrats will be forced to become more violent and embrace what you're starting to see now. The culture of murder, the culture of assassination. Roll cut 4B, Mike.
Sorry to say, but assassinations of those who oppose them is a very important element of their ideology. Assassination's a big deal for them. They're animals. They're animals. In many cases, they're not smart, but in some cases, they are. It's easy for them to get followers because they make promises that they know they can't keep. And the Democrats aren't fighting back. That's why they're dumb. They're not fighting back. They're afraid. I watch Schumer. He's afraid to fight. I watch guys that are pretty normal and guys that we oppose, they're afraid to fight. The Democrats have taken a tremendous turn left.
Now, I want to play two more cuts and I want to go right back to the phone lines. He then says, this is now the poison chalice. It's so alluring now to Democrats for two reasons. One, if you promise everything free, everything for everybody, free, it's so enticing, people will vote for you. So the allure of power, the allure of being elected, it's like, it's like fentanyl to a drug addict. They can't stop themselves. So they're embracing communism and socialism because it has a magical spell over people who are completely ignorant of reality and of the past. And furthermore, the Democrats that used to run the Democratic Party are now too chicken and too cowardly to stand up to the political thugs like Bernie, like Mamdani, like Graham Plattner, like AOC. So like the cowards that they are, they bend the knee. And the more they bend the knee, the more communistic, the more Marxist, the more the DSA takes over the entire Democratic Party. Roll cut 5A, Mike.
Too easy to get elected, giving everything away. Too easy to get elected. Very dangerous, but you'll soon have nothing left. That's the problem. In many ways, they're allowing them to just go their own way, do your own. We don't want to take a chance on saying anything bad because we're afraid we're going to lose our jobs if we do. They're afraid they're going to lose their election if they even think about saying anything bad about this new breed of sick people. They're not smart enough or tough enough to fight the plague that's happening. It's happening right before your very eyes. If they fought them the way they fight Republicans or the way they fight me, they'd be victorious. They didn't beat us, but they'd be victorious against the communists. But they don't have the courage to do so, so they're turning communists themselves. It's becoming a communist party.
Bingo. Bingo. He nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. Now, let me just play one final cut. He's now telling the American people, don't buy the spin from the media. The media now, they don't know what to do because they realize if the Democrats are now exposed for who and what they are, they're going to get wiped out in November. They will lose every election. Decade after decade after decade, they will be consigned to the political wilderness because no sane person and no sane society votes to abolish prisons, police, borders, and says, please confiscate private property, take my home, or take everything I have. Okay, nobody votes for that. So they have to try to repackage them, rebrand them. They're social democrats. They're democratic socialists. They're just a little more far left on the progressive side. Don't worry, it'll all work out in the end. Trump is saying no. What you're facing now is a communist insurgency. And they've now hijacked and taken over the Democratic Party. And they have the media, and they have academia, and they have the entire entertainment industry behind them. They have the deep state. They have very powerful weapons. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, listen now to Trump. Basically, this is how he goes on a little bit more, but this is the real crescendo of his speech, the big climax of his speech, where he says, listen, these Democrats are not socialists or social democrats. These aren't, left-wing or ultra-lefty progressives. Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. These are hardcore communists, and they are playing for keeps. They want power, total power, and they will stop at nothing to get it. Roll cut 5B, Mike.
They're not social democrats. These are hardcore, godless communists. They're godless communists. All communists are godless. They don't believe in God. This is the most serious threat to our country since its existence, in my opinion, 250 years ago. This is a major threat to our country. It isn't something that's easily solved, but with a little love and help, some hard work. Because it's ironic, we're celebrating a very important birthday, our most important birthday so far, 250 years. And instead of speaking about Christ, and instead of speaking about freedom and victories of all different kinds, we're speaking about yet another threat to the foundations of America.
He's completely right. He's 1,000% correct. He's ringing the alarm bell, as I've been ringing the alarm bell. And I hope, America, you're listening. Now, I just, very quick, you want to see the surrender in the Democratic Party? Schumer has already bent the knee. That's done. You have Hakeem Jeffries. He's bent the knee. Now they're lining up one after another to bend the knee. Listen now to Senator Chris Murphy, rabid anti-Trumper. He's a senator from Connecticut. Now, hey, he welcomes the DSA with open arms. Open arms. Like Trump said, they don't have the courage to fight him. Like the cowards they are. They're just going to capitulate and allow them to take over the entire Democratic Party. Roll cut 12, Mike.
There's a lot of polling that shows that the rise of socialism is becoming a big part of the Democratic base. In fact, over 2/3 of Democrats view socialism more positively than capitalism. Does the Democratic Party actually need to embrace the moniker of socialism, lean into it?
No, but I think we have to understand that people do not believe that this version of capitalism has worked. And frankly, it hasn't worked. I mean, you have 40% of Americans today that are working full time and don't have enough money saved up in the bank for an emergency car repair. Meanwhile, we just saw the first trillionaire made in this economy. This version of capitalism isn't working.
So there you go. They're lining up one after another to kiss Mamdani's ring. And so my question to you, is communism coming? And can Trump and MAGA stop them? 617-266-6868. Dave in Medford. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dave?
Jeff, let's start with the American flag first, Jeff. They're telling us we cannot fly the American flag. It's evil toward them. But yet, at the same time, Jeff, they're flying all the flags of the abomination on the flagpole over at Government Center. Jeff, if they get away with taking away the American flag from the Americans, Jeff, our fathers fought for the American flag. The American flag is a sign of freedom in God, because God blessed America many years ago that we still have. Jeff, the way I'm looking at it right now, they do this and tell everybody they cannot fly the American flag. The next thing you know, if they could get away with it, which I hope they don't, they're going to tell you you cannot celebrate Thanksgiving, Jeff. At the same time, Jeff, they're going to say you cannot celebrate Christmas because communists don't believe in Jesus or anything like that. And we know this. Jeff, something needs to be done. And these communist people and all these gay rights activists take over the way they're trying to do. Every time you turn around, you're seeing another argument about the gay lords and everybody else. Jeff, there won't be in America. Because if communism takes over, it's going to be a total disaster, Jeff, and we know this. And, Jeff, at the same time, these are the signs of the book of Revelation.
Well, I got to say, Dave, look, we liberated Venezuela from Maduro. Well, that was one of Trump's singular accomplishments during his second term, right? One of his very consequential major accomplishments. To me, the irony of all irony is if we become the United States of Venezuela. And what is to me incredible is that if you ask Mamdani, they love Venezuela. They love Cuba. AOC openly says it. She wants America to become like Cuba. Now, you have to have something seriously wrong in your head if you want your country to become a third world hellhole, a third world dictatorship, a police state. And you're right. Christianity is banned in all communist states. There's no Christmas, there's no Easter, there's no Thanksgiving, and all traditional flags that embody God, country, freedom, a nation's history or patrimony, those flags are all banned under communism. So you're right. For the communist revolution to succeed, they must destroy the American flag. They have to make it illegal. Because for them, the only flag that matters is a flag with the red star, is a flag with the hammer and sickle. The American flag is completely counter to any communist flag because it celebrates liberty and freedom and ultimately God. Remember, the 4th of July, independence, our declaration, we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Okay, as Trump said in his speech, and I agree with him, the bad news is you've got this cancer. The good, i.e. this new communist Democrat party. The good news is we can excise this cancer, surgically remove it, in fact, crush it, because it is deeply, deeply unpopular. And whenever you poll Americans on the actual positions held by the Democratic Socialists of America, okay, basically they're a front for the Chinese Communist Party, they are horrified. I mean, what, 80-10? It's 90-10. So if we just expose and unmask and fight them aggressively, proactively, there's no way they can win. We've got them on the ropes. Now, I want you to just listen to Fetterman. He now is calling out the communists within his own party. He is warning, saying, I know, I deal with them, I talk to them. They are full-fledged anti-Semitic Islamo-communists. That's what they are, according to Fetterman. And he said the most shocking thing is that they're now becoming increasingly insurrectionist and violent. And he says their ringleader is Mamdani. And in particular, I don't know if you saw this story, but in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision on eliminating temporary protected status for 400,000 Haitian and Syrian migrants, Mamdani took essentially to the streets and grabbed a megaphone in front of his crowd and in front of his DSA supporters and thugs and said that he will disobey the Supreme Court the Supreme Court ruling. He will disobey and defy the Supreme Court ruling. He will not allow a single TPS Haitian or TPS Syrian of any kind to be deported. And if he has to use force to do it, he will. In other words, it's an insurrection. It's nullification. New York will not abide by the Supreme Court and by the executive order issued by Trump. Listen now to Fetterman saying we now have a full-blown constitutional crisis. Mamdani is a radical insurrectionist, and he's playing with fire. Roll cut 11, Mike.
If the president defies a court ruling, whether a court or definitely the Supreme Court, then that, by definition, that would be a constitutional crisis. And I said, we've not seen one, and I honestly don't expect one. And as far as I know, the Trump administration has not defied any of those court rulings, if you can correct if that's right. And now there was a meltdown, and a lot of the left media was angry at me for just describing those circumstances, but I haven't seen the freak out now that the mayor of New York is now saying, I'm going to defy the Supreme Court ruling, and many of the members in my party are not calling him out and saying, or defend him, or just say, yay, we really actually have to follow the court rulings, because unless that's a constitutional crisis, when you have the leader of the country's largest city, then we're not going to follow or honor what the Supreme Court says.
It's a constant, no question. It's a political crisis. It's a moral crisis. It's a legal crisis. And now it's a constitutional crisis. Now look, you want to play communist revolutionary? No problem. Lock him up. Lock this SOB of a mayor up. Because this guy thinks that the law doesn't apply to him. Well, I got news for him. It does. And a Supreme Court ruling is a Supreme Court ruling. And it's time now to take the gloves off. Agree, disagree. Ryan in Worcester. Thanks for holding, Ryan, and welcome.
Jeff, I know it's been said before. I love you in a non-sexual way, my friend.
Thank you, Ryan. What's on your mind, my friend?
Just jumping back to the topic about the flags and the 4th of July celebrations and stuff. Just a little update on Rutland. I know we had a episode on Rutland and canceling the fireworks and stuff like that.
Yes,
fireworks are still canceled. That's not stopping me from going to New Hampshire or Rhode Island to get them. But so they're having a chicken barbecue. They're having a volleyball tournament, and they're having like a toddler parade, but they're not doing the fireworks.
Now, why won't they? I'm just curious. Why won't they change their mind, Ryan? I don't know what they call them. Rutlandians, Rutlandites. I think it's Rutlandites. I think it's what it is. I think it's Rutlanders. I think it's Rutlanders, but let that go.
I'm not sure. I think it's still political. I remember talking. Not talking, but I remember hearing. You had somebody on caller from Holden that was was running for state rep, and they said it was something to do with their override vote. That they were mad about the override vote. That's about right. Raising taxes, and now they're not going to have it, but they're going to have all this little, just it's almost just like giving you like a dog, giving you a little treat, You're going to have your little chicken barbecue. You're going to have your little volleyball tournament. You're going to have this, but you're not going to have the fireworks. You're not going to have that big grand finale and stuff like that.
Or the parade. Right, Ryan, that was the thing. The parade and the fireworks. That they want to put the kibosh on that, Ryan.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's a dog and pony show. I don't know.
Ryan, look, we outnumber them. We do. And, it's up to us. We should hold our own parades, hold our own fireworks shows, have our own barbecues, and celebrate not just our birthday as a country, but honestly, the greatest country in the history of the world. We are so blessed to be Americans. And Trump is right. Our 250th birthday up to now, it's our most important birthday. I mean, not to disparage 100 years or 200 years. Those are big accomplishments. But 250 is 250. That's one hell of a birthday. Most people thought we'd never make it to 250. And we have. And we've done so much for ourselves and for the world. I mean, it should be honestly, Ryan, this should be the mother of all parties. And I don't care, left, right, Democrat, Republican, Independent. People should be celebrating. We are so fortunate to be Americans. And instead, look, the left has to ruin even this. Even this, they have to be the skunk at the party. Ryan, am I wrong?
Le Pew.
Pepe Le Pew. Ryan, thank you so much for that call. Oh, really? They are Pepe Le Pew. JD on the North Shore. Thanks for holding, JD, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, JD?
Good. Happy 250th anniversary of the greatest nation on earth to you and your family.
Yes, thank you.
Jeff,
Thank you. And all the best to you and your family, JD.
Thanks. Jeff, I'd like to explain the flawed logic behind this flag ban on Plum Island. It has to do with physics. I've been in my house for 31 years, and I have a 25-foot flagpole at the front of my house. And on that flagpole, I fly a standard-sized American flag is 3x5, and underneath that, I have another 3x5 United States Marine Corps flag. And when the wind isn't blowing, the flag is flaccid. It hangs vertical, almost just like the pole. And when the wind blows, that flag flaps in the wind, and there's an audible sound on the cloth of the flag. And when it's really windy, you can almost hear a snap from the wind. So that's a deterrent for a bird. It's not going to fly into a flag if it's, number one, flapping in the wind. Number two, if it's just hanging flaccid. And I also have two American flags that hang vertically on my farmer's porch in front of my house. And I have, let's see, I'm going to count them. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 bird feeders around my house. I fill them weekly. Birds from sunrise to sunset come to my house and eat the bird seed. And in 31 years, I've never had a dead bird at the base of my flags from flying into a flag. So the physics behind their ban is just a joke. Birds aren't going to fly. In fact, people on boats, recreational boats, put those like whirligig.
Oh, no, JD, you're a million, not 100 or 1,000. You're 1,000,000% correct. Okay, my friends, Monday, final segment. You know what that means. Talk back, tit for tat. Your voices, your reactions, your heart. The true heartbeat of Kuhner Country. We asked, you answered, and now we're sharing the best of this week's messages. Take it away, Mike.
Hey, Coon Dog. On Wednesdays, when Grace comes on, you always say you married up. Don't you think it's more on point that she married down?
Kamala Harris is looking to jazz up her word salad speeches by adding the adjective word hope.
Jeff, complacency is killing us. There's more people arguing and debating algae in a pond than there is people fighting for the SAVE Act. Love you guys.
I think Jay-Z's skill set is going to let him shine no matter which way this goes.
Hey, Jeff, my father was a member of the Freemasons.
Jeff, you are a dumb that will believe anything that one of your ass-kissing callers will tell you. You are a Catholic. You are not allowed to be a Freemason. With somebody with your much of education, you should know that by now.
That woman on your show is really very misleading. So you ought to have more credible people on your show.
I'd like to wish Bill from Sudbury a very happy 4th of July on America's 250th anniversary. Hey, William, when you're having a cookout on the holiday, for God's sakes, put the hot dog in the right hole this year.
Mike, these were good. I mean, they were really good. No, I'm not joining the Freemasons. It was a joke. I was making a joke. You know, I got so much blowback over that. You're a Catholic, you should know better. And I'm like, I was kidding. I'm a peasant, right? Freemasons historically have been known for being quite privileged and elite. You know, it's sort of like, it's like joining a country club. So I'm like, I can join the Masons. That was the shtick. That was the joke. But anyway, I love the calls. Great calls. If you want to be on Tit for Tat, just what you do is get the iHeartRadio app, download it, and then look for the red microphone in the upper right corner of the app and leave a message for me for Sandy, for Mike, agree, disagree, anything goes. Download the iHeart app, hit that red mic, baby, and join Kuhner's Talkback Tit for Tat. And, would it kill any of you to say Mike sucks? Hey, stop cutting the Kuhner man off. Would it kill you to leave that message? Just to have my back a little bit? Art in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Art, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for taking me. Got a couple things. First,
go ahead, Art.
Let Dave know in Newburyport that I'm not very far from him. I will be there with my flags on my truck, helping support him over there.
Art, I just want to warn you, you're going to get a lot of middle fingers there, Art.
But I got several of my own I can use. I'm the vet who's called a number of times in the past. These people all around out there, all they are is damn bullies. That's all they are. I know because I was bullied when I was younger. I'm a disabled vet now, and I learned to fight a long time ago. We have to stand up to bullies. Whenever you get in a fight with a bully, you beat them. You beat them to an inch of their life if you have to. They never want to deal with you again. And I'm serious when I say that. My next thing I want to speak about, I want to challenge every vet in this country, from World War I all the way up, if there's any alive. 2. So, my dad was in 3 branches in 3 wars. 2, Korea, Nam, before he retired with 24 years. 3 different branches. Army first, Navy second, and retired during the...
Art, I got to tell you something, Art. First of all, God bless you, and I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service. And you disabled veterans are incredible. And I'm behind this microphone because of you and people like you. And I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July. I really do. Hope you have fireworks. I hope you fly that flag proudly. I hope you have a great cookout or barbecue. Spend time with friends and family. And I'm going to be brutally honest with you, Art. You veterans have done enough. You've done more than enough. You've done more than your fair share. Now it's time for us non-veterans, people like me. We've got to stand up to these communist bullies. You've done more than enough. It's always the veterans, the veterans, the veterans. No, it's time for us to fly our flag and to sing our national anthem and to praise our troops and our country and to celebrate our birthright and our anniversary and our birthday. Because it's our country as well. And it's time now that we took up our cross. And so, look, they want to destroy everything that we've built. We're not going to let them. We're not going to let them. And so have the courage of your convictions.